It's one thing to make a small space look cute, but it is another thing to make it functional and livable. If you've got a small space that you'd like to maximize, or maybe you're thinking about buying a vacation property, but you don't want to spend a fortune, then this episode is for you. You don't want to miss it. Welcome to Sweet Tea Hospitality. I'm Karen Conrad, and we are on a project in Cocoa Beach, Florida. It's called the Beachside Bungalow, and our goal with this project is to create a vacation rental property that cash flows and is profitable so that we've got a good return on our investment. You know, purchasing this property was really a dream come true for us, but it didn't take long before we started running into some challenges and kind of started to go into that distress mode. And the problem that we are trying to solve right now is how to take this little property and make it live large. This is what is known as the storm before the calm. Oh my goodness, every project that we do, it seems like even though we've been working, we hit that point that it feels totally chaotic. In this situation, I had to get the furniture laid out correctly first. And even though it's not looking like that right now, it does have a plan. And because it's such a long, narrow room, I had to get scaled furniture and just really think about what this project was going to look like. So when we go through a project, you know, I'd like to tell you everything goes smooth, but we had a little hiccup. We've had a few of them. But today, oh my goodness, I came back. Dave was putting up curtain rods for me. We measured it. We had a plan. He's very, very precise. And when we looked at them closer, one of the rods was not working on the window. Well, he had mixed up the dimensions completely, and so you're seeing behind those curtain rod brackets are coming out, and they're going to be patched, and they're going to put back in right. And it's always a temptation to say, just leave it, we'll figure it out. But we have learned that we want to do things right. We're much happier with that when we get through the project. Laying out the rooms is really important, and it's something that it takes quite a bit of time. I have to walk through a space, and especially I order all the furniture online. I have to gain a good understanding of dimensions, what's going to work, what is going to fit, because a lot of times furniture might come in and it's too big. And I actually had one of those situations happen in this house, and I'll walk you through it and just give you some insight into how I solved it. I found these chairs, they're right here against the window, that I really like. There's just something about them that was interesting to me. I thought initially that they would work in the living room by the fireplace, but they were just too large and kind of overpowering. And so I moved those here by the window. And even though we have the TV area up by the fireplace, there's still an area for conversation. And I think about, okay, what would someone want to do when they're at the beachside bungalow? In the morning, they want to have a nice cup of coffee, and they may not want to be in the area by the television, but they might want to look outside. And so I created an area where we've got 4 chairs in a conversation space. I have yet to get a coffee table, which I'm going to pick up today, that will go in the middle. And we also got a small fireplace because in the morning sometimes it's a little bit cool, and instead of turning the whole system of heat on in the house, they can just turn the little fireplace on. and I put that between the two chairs that have the legs and are a little too big for the other room. Do you know, it grounds it, because when you've got furniture that's got legs, you don't want to have more legs and then more legs, if that makes sense. You want something in that space that grounds the furniture. And so we placed that fireplace right between the two chairs and created this great place that we find ourselves in the morning wanting to sit in and have our cup of coffee and visit. So once we have the rooms laid out, then we are bringing in the curtains and the artwork. So right now it might seem like there's not a lot of order to this, or it might not make a lot of sense. It certainly isn't looking very beautiful at this point. But once I get those finishing touches on, this is going to be a great conversation area in the beachside bungalow. We're back at my Texas workshop, and just a reminder that we're trying to make this property into a cash flowing vacation rental. It sounds really fun, and it is fun. It sounds a little glamorous even, but when you actually get into the project, there is a lot that has to be considered to make something like this work. There's a lot of competition out there, and we want to make sure that we maximize the investment and make it a place that is the place that jumps out, you might say, when people start to scroll for a vacation rental. One thing that's interesting to keep in mind if you're looking at doing a vacation rental is the only way that people choose your property is from the pictures on the internet. And so the staging, the layout of the space, making sure it looks like it's accommodating more than just a couple people, even though it's a small home. These were all things that we had to consider. So being in Texas and having to order all of the furniture, I had to really think through room by room how I was going to make this work. A really significant issue that I ran into was the awkward layout in the living area and family room. So I got the room dimensions from our real estate agent, and this long, narrow room was 11 feet wide. So this is just 11 foot wide, which for a room, that is very narrow. The other thing is it's long. It's about 20, I think it was 24 feet long, something like that. So kind of an awkward space. So the fireplace is here, the TV is on top of it. So what I do is I go and research online and I look at dimensions. You can actually search based on a maximum width of a couch. And I'm always thinking about how many people can I fit in here comfortably with conversation, and what type of furniture should that be? What should I get? So in this situation, because they've got a fireplace and we've got a TV here, I knew that I wanted some sort of a couch for people to sit on to watch TV. But because this is so tight, it's not something that could float in the room because you wouldn't have enough room to actually walk in. So I got a couch that sat with a chase. I had to make sure that this chase was on the right side of the actual room, because I knew too that I had to bump into this space a little bit. Initially, I wanted to be able to keep everything clean. I like clean lines from where this opening is. But because I went through this process, I realized that's not possible. So I got a chase couch that actually opens up as a bed as well, adds space for someone to sleep. And I placed it against this wall, making sure that there is enough room, here's the front door, for people to walk in and actually get into that room. And ideally, you want to leave 3 feet around even a kitchen island or any open space if possible. So the other thing is I knew I couldn't put an end table here, and I'll show you a solution to that. So this would maybe hold 2 or 3 people, and I needed to create another space for people to be able to sit as well. I initially thought I would have 1 chair here and 1 chair here, but when I looked at the room, I realized that this side of the fireplace was actually longer than this side. So if I was to put 2 chairs there, it would look really odd, and it actually kind of pushed too much into the room in a very strange way. So what I did is I put the second chair over here. So I had already scaled these to make sure that they would work in the room. And then I always think about too, when I'm walking in the house, that's my first impression, this is where the eyes are going to go. So I want to make sure that what they see here is really pleasant. So putting a chair here. Remember, I needed lamps because there's no overhead light. So I placed a lamp here and here. I got smaller scale lamps here. I got black metal lamps here because the fireplace is dark here and the TV is black, and I wanted it all to tie together, and I put curtain rods up here that are black. So then when you look at this space, you think about conversation. Does this work for conversation? It does, because people are sitting here and they're sitting here. So the conversation is able to move around the room in a nice triangle, and that's really ideal. So now what do I do in this space? I got a plant, the potted plant. It's sort of like a palm plant that's fairly tall and goes up against the wall. I did that because this area needed to be grounded. If I didn't put something substantial there, it would look like it's floating, and I needed to balance out the weight of the fireplace, the big black TV, and over here, this chair. So that looked perfect. It was tall enough that it tied them into the mantle, and it was strong enough, and it gave us enough texture that it balanced out the weight of the room. I put a wicker coffee or end table here, and it's one that goes all the way to the ground, because when you're looking into a room like this too, what we don't think about is when you've got legs on chairs, you need something that brings it back to the ground. This is on the ground, this is on the ground, and it just grounds a whole room. Then I got a rug that would be soft for people to step on, but I needed to make sure that there was enough space that it didn't feel like they were tripping on it to get into the room. The bathroom was very small, and it has no storage. It had a medicine cabinet, but when you start thinking about a family that's actually using that bathroom, getting ready in the morning, curling your hair, this was not going to work unless I could figure out a way to make it more functional. And I did. I did several things, and it was really interesting how we were able to function in there while we stayed working on this property. One of the first things I did is I got a glass shelf to go over the pedestal sink, and it sat between that and the medicine cabinet. Just that alone provides a space to be able to put your toothbrush, hairbrush. It's amazing how something that simple can expand the space. I added a second one over the existing towel holder because I got to thinking, if I'm in here trying to dry my hair, I need a place to put either the hair dryer or the curling irons. I added hooks on the side walls so that multiple towels could be hung. So after people took a shower, they had a place to put that towel. And I added a teak, I guess it's a tray, a bath tray, over the back of the bathtub that holds the shampoos, also some wash rags, and it's a place to put your phone or your cup of coffee when you're in the bathroom. And as much as we don't think about those things, I can tell you, if you think about how you spend your time getting ready in the morning, you need a space for all those things. And finally, I purchased a small teak bench in the bathroom, and I put it down by the pedestal sink so that when I came in there with my makeup bag, and I bought these white little plastic baskets that you can carry in there. It's a place to set it down so that it's not sitting on the floor and it's not causing me to have to use the top of the toilet for a place to put my items. I've never seen a laundry room like this laundry room. This is one of those things when you are in a different area of the country, you have to kind of look at things and figure out, is this acceptable in this area of the country? Being in Minnesota, growing up, it got so cold this would never work. And actually in Texas, it wouldn't really work either because it gets pretty cool here as well. But in Florida, the laundry room being completely separate from the living space and having these barn doors to kind of just keep it together, even though it's not a sealed door, seemed like it would never work. But as we got used to this space and started to pay attention to how people live in this area of the country, we are actually leaving the laundry room where it is, and we're just gonna paint the doors. And that is an expense I thought I would have to deal with, and now we don't have to. That in itself saved us quite a bit of money. So just to recap this up, there's a lot of problems with the small rooms, the layout of the room. We had to figure out a way to expand the living space. And we took advantage of the outdoor space to add on to the living space in the house and make it like an extension of the home. Welcome to the beachside bungalow kitchen. I'll tell you, this kitchen is small but mighty. We really had fun trying to figure out how to make this little teeny space functional. We even tested it out having our Thanksgiving holiday here, and you know what? It worked amazing. So when you do a vacation rental, you have to think through, what do people need and want in a kitchen? It's not like staging a home where you can just make it look pretty and not have to get the pots and pans and the dishes and the glasses. No, we had to outfit this kitchen with everything somebody would need in a vacation rental. And we accomplished it. So here's some things that we did to create space and really make it user-friendly for our vacation renters. First of all, we had no counter space to spare at all. So that was one of the biggest challenges. What are we going to do? And when looking at the space, it's too narrow to add a counter or any sort of cupboards here, which would have been my first thought. Plus, we had the challenge of the dishwasher opening up, and that took space. So one of the first things that we purchased is this portable island. We got this at Lowe's, and I'll tell you, this has been a lifesaver for this kitchen. Not only did it add counter space, so when we come into the house, you can set things on here, put groceries on, you can even work on it when you're cooking or baking, but it included a drawer and some much needed cupboard space, and it's on wheels, so it's portable. You could bring it anywhere. Also, we added shelves. This was not an area that I could have the big cupboards because it would have blocked the space and really closed the kitchen in further. So I found these open shelves at Lowe's, and they're kind of like a nice gray color that goes with the floor. And then I added this candle or charcuterie board to add a little bit of, you might say, romance to it, or just something to give it a nice glow. And then the thing that sometimes we don't think about but is always needed is when you're going in and out of a vacation rental, there has to be a place to put keys in those odds and ends. And so I found this at Home Goods, and it kind of went in with the rest of the motif of the home, where it's a nice wood carved bowl, and as you can see, that's where we keep our keys. And then I've got it up here out of the way on the shelf. When you look behind me, everybody needs coffee at a vacation rental, right? So we got this nice little compact Keurig, and I just love the look of all the Keurig cups on there. And so we tuck that in on the counter above the dishwasher. I added a little bit of design in the back corner, some flowers from Hobby Lobby, just tulips, and the love never fails, just that messaging coming in. And then one thing that I had forgot about but realized as soon as we started trying to cook in here, we have to have knives. I mean, there's a lot of practical things that we have to be aware of. And so I went shopping on Amazon. I was looking at reviews, and I got this great set of knives, and they've just been amazing to use for cutting steaks, cutting up veggies. And then we've also got all our utensils. We got really nice ones. Dave's really particular about making sure that the utensils that we have for people work well. So we've got some high-end ones there, and I just got a little carafe for that. And then we had to make the decision if we were going to invest in upgraded and new appliances. And when I first saw this kitchen, I thought we're gonna have to pretty much replace everything. But as we started thinking about it from a vacation rental perspective, people probably aren't going to be too concerned about the appliances being brand new. So we just scrubbed everything up. Everything is functional. And we've got the beachside bungalow kitchen that we absolutely love spending time in. And we have found it to be extremely practical.
Hey, hi, I'm David. I'm with Karen, and we are in her creative room, your creative lab. And just sitting here, I actually feel really creative. Like, I got all kinds of ideas happening. Got this color thing here. I'm seeing colors.
Yes.
Well, I'm seeing colors. This is so cool to be in your vibe.
Well,
and
thank you.
It's fun, and we're going to talk about something
We
kind
are.
of funny.
Something that we ran into at the beachside bungalow, and part of being in a small space and also kind of living there on and off for a couple months to work on the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, shall I talk about this?
Yes.
Okay, we bought this place. Keep in mind, it's 2-bedroom, 1 bath. A house that was built in the late 50s, block house.
Under 1,000 square feet.
Yes. So one of the members in our family went into the bathroom to use the facilities. And when that member of the family came out of the bathroom, well, the member of the family, out of graciousness, said, "Y'all might want to avoid this room for a little while." And then,
Oh my goodness.
And then I realized that we're right down the coast from Cape Canaveral and NASA, and the rockets go off. But there was some rumbling that was a little bit too close.
It was a lot too close.
In that little bathroom.
It was.
So you had the idea.
I was like, guys, we need to get a bathroom fan, pronto. Because all I was imagining, that's the good thing about in a vacation rental, like living there for a couple months, you really get an idea of what it's like to stay there. And I was like, we're used to 3 bathrooms in this house. And I was like, this is not going to be working without a bathroom fan.
Right.
So we got on that right away.
We did. It doesn't help to close the door. It just kind of hangs there. But we're not going to go into detail.
A little bit too much information.
Too much information. But we did get a great electrician who cut a simple hole in the ceiling, wired it in, and when you turn the light on, the fan automatically comes on.
It does, and that makes me very happy. I love this part of the show when I can really share with you how God guided us through all the steps of this property. And this is an area that I look back on and think, I don't even know how we came up with these ideas. And I love that because I know it's not me, it's totally the Lord. Do you ever find yourself in life where you feel like you don't have enough? And it's easy to look at circumstances and just think like, oh my goodness, this is never going to work. Well, we had to do that in this property, but oftentimes in our lives, we run into situations like that. Whether it's our bank account, whether it's our health, whether it's something that we need in our family or in our job. And this reminded us that when we feel lack, God has abundance in mind. And so I'm going to share this scripture with you. It's Matthew 14, 17 through 21. And it says this, "We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish," they answered. "Bring them here to me," he said. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then we know what happened after that. There was more than enough as he gave it to the disciples, and they had plenty left over. That's exactly the experience that we had in this property, particularly in the kitchen. That was an area where I thought this will never work. And by the end of the project, I had room left over in the cupboards. Remember, this is a vacation rental, so we're having to do some things for this that I wouldn't necessarily, or I wouldn't do if we were going to just flip the house, or even a buy and hold where somebody is renting it long term, because they're bringing their own things in, but we had to make sure that everything is available. So here's the breakdown of the cost of the things specifically related to expanding the space. I'm going to cover the furniture costs in a future episode. Here we go. The shelves in the bathroom, the tray, the teak stool, the bar with the hooks, all of that together cost $178. The kitchen island cart that we added with the storage was just $149. The shelves in the kitchen were $78 at Lowe's. I got 4 plastic baskets for people that stay there to be able to put their toiletries in to move from their bedroom to the bathroom for just $19. And I added a closet shelving unit in each closet so that people could take their clothes and put them in there, store them, because I don't have room for a chest of drawers in the bedrooms. And I spent $118 on that for 2 of them. So altogether, we spent $571 on these items to maximize the small space. So wrapping up this episode, let's recap what we were able to accomplish in the beachside bungalow. I think one of our biggest successes was figuring out how to sleep 7 in this small 2-bedroom home. And we did that through the bedrooms and adding a trundle bed with a day bed. We were pretty creative with the way we put that together, including getting a sofa that folded out so we could actually add that as a sleeping space. And you know, that's really important because when you're out there trying to get people to rent the vacation rental, one of the first questions they want answered is how many people can sleep in this property. Also, we really tested that little tiny kitchen. We spent Thanksgiving there and even had a friend over, and we were able to go through the meal flawlessly. So I know that anybody staying in this vacation rental is going to successfully be able to cook a meal for their family. And finally, we got very creative with how we laid out the living space in taking that long living room, breaking it up into 2 rooms, and having a really great conversation area. If you've enjoyed this episode, we've got this whole series available for you to purchase, including a renovation guide. And I don't know if you caught this, but we've got a project that we did recently called the Coastal Cottage. To view all of these, you can go to livable.tv, or you can purchase the entire series with that guide at sweettea.tv. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Karen Conrad, and I'll see you next time on Sweet Tea Hospitality.